today we have with us
Andy, and I live in Wears Valley, and Cam is where you can get just about anything that I make through Cam. Everything that I make is basically all handmade. This arrow is handmade. The shaft for the arrow is river cane that comes right from Wears Valley. And they would flint their glass or their flint, and that's how they made their points. They got it to the point where they would get it like this, and they would start taking it down a little further and hope that it doesn't break in half. But the Indians used deer antlers to do all their flaking, and they used their deer antlers to make their notches in all of their arrows. These are some of the arrows that I've made just recently, and they were made out of material obsidian. Obsidian comes out of the states of Washington and Oregon, and it is volcanic glass. Volcanic glass is one of the easiest ones to work. If you get into a stone, which is agate, which is Tennessee state stone, it is a lot harder to work. I have to use a little bit different tools on it to make it do its job. But the flint knapping is something I've been doing for approximately 45 years. And I have a son and a grandson in Florida that make arrowheads. And the Indians used not only for arrows. In Indian movies, you always see this crazy Indian riding up on his horse, and he'll stick a spear up in the air, and then he'll throw it in the ground and stick it in the ground. But basically these were used for decoration for the Indians. The Indian bow basically was made out of a tree that was growing in Wears Valley. The feathers are turkey feathers. They're imitation eagle feathers. But they make terrific bows and knives. The Indians made most of their flint tools. They made them for hunting and for, I don't want to say for war, but for protection. But a lot of them were used for hunting, like your knives, your arrows, your spears. That's how they fed themselves, by killing the deer and the smaller animals. And this is where they call it flint knapping, where they would take flint and they're knapping it down to make either a spear or an arrow. You can see how they made their spears and their points. It goes from this to this, down to this. And that's basically how the Indians made their arrowheads, their tomahawks, their material that they had for hunting their game to feed their tribe and the like. And that's basically what I do, and I enjoy it. Everything that I do, basically, Cam has it. And like I said, this material, this is a bamboo shaft, and the bamboo grows in my yard. And so, like I said, everything that I've got basically comes from either this area. The stone I get, a lot of it does not come from this area. There's a gentleman that goes around the United States, and he collects stone from Oregon, California, Montana, different states. And what he does is he advertises it over the internet, and I get some of my stone from him. They are agate, and they are made out of a chert. Chert, like I said, is a general stone that is a form of limestone. And some of the chert is easy to work, some of it is harder to work. The agate, Tennessee agate, is a little harder to work. But it ends up from a piece like this to an arrow. And used to take this stuff and it sharpens glass. and they would scrape their hides. How they scraped their hides to get the fat off of their hides, and that's what they used was to scrape them with. Just about every single Indian tribe was basically the same way as far as making their tools that they used for their hunting tools by flint knapping. And like I said, they used deer antlers to do their knapping with. This is what they call Texas flint. This is really hard stuff, and it's very, with a deer antler, it's very hard to break. So the Indians had a hard time using this type of material without putting it in a fire and cooking it and taking the temper out of it so that they could work it easy. Because this right here, trying to work this, they'd never get anything out of it, just go into little pieces. But if you take it and you heat treat it and you cook it, I have my son down in Florida, he takes this stuff when he gets it, he's got a kiln, like a pottery kiln, and he'll take the pottery kiln and he'll heat it for 400 degrees, slowly up to 400. If you heat it too fast, it'll explode because it has air bubbles in it. So you got to heat it slow up to 400 degrees and then cook it overnight at 400 degrees. And that way it's easy to work then.
So are you, anyone in your family locally learning how to do
Nothing
this?
locally, no. It's an art that very few people do. But other than that, why, I think Teresa Cam is the only one around this area and right in this Pigeon Forge area that has this type of material.
What kind of stone would have been typically used from this area, from the Indians in this area to use?
This area has very, very poor stone, Teresa, and I'll say why. A lot of stone that's in this area, if you do find it, it's in the mountains, but a lot of it's quartz. And quartz is very hard to work. I have found a few arrowheads that are quartz in the area, but what happens is the material that they find is in very small pieces. And I've found a lot of arrowheads and even a tomahawk and a celt in this area, in the valley. But the arrowheads, if they lay on top of the ground for say like maybe a year or two, or even 10 years or 100 years, they have a tendency of cracking and splitting and breaking because the water gets in the cracks in them and it expands and it breaks them into small pieces. This right here, this is a knife that Teresa carries, and the knife is got Tennessee agate, and it's got, the handle is made out of 100-year-old barn siding. The barn was I tore down a barn approximately 5-6 years ago that was a little over 100 years old, and then I use it to make my handles for the knives that a lot of them that you have. Here's another one. This is obsidian, but it has a handle that's made out of cactus. And it's very, a lot of people don't know what old dead dried up cactus look like. And the tomahawk, this was taken out of a private collection that I made. And some of them you hate to give up sometimes. Anything else, Teresa?
Well, how long do you mind telling us your age?
I am 78.
How long do you plan on keeping on doing this? As long as you can?
Right now I've got, I'm going to say 170. I've got over 200 made up already right now. And a lot of them will come up here to you. And but let's put it this way, Teresa. I need something to keep me busy, and this is something that I enjoy. And so as long as you keep selling them here at camp, I will keep on making them for you.